I've created an AI development guide which is intended for someone that works in your business, maybe yourself, who is not a developer, they've not got a technical background, but they want to be able to start to build AI products, proofs of concept, and how do they go on that journey when they are not what they would classify as a developer. So I've got this guide. I'm going to link the guide in the notes for this video, but I want to walk through each of the sections. Now, hopefully I'll try and make it quite entertaining and exciting, because I'm not going to read the entire document to you. You can do that yourself, but just to explain a little bit about how it is structured. So firstly, I'm talking here about AI development. Like, what is it that we're trying to do here? Am I intending to turn you into a qualified developer? No, that is not the goal. Firstly, what we want to think through is, what is it that we're trying to create? And let's take a business problem. Let's say there is some process that you do in your company today that involves calculating something. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's something in finance, maybe it's something in HR, but you've got a spreadsheet and you do some calculations. And so we'll use that as an example as we go through. Now, how are you going to use AI to improve that situation, to make it go faster, to make it go more effective? Well, one of the things that you could do is you could create a prompt that you're going to use just once. Maybe you've just got to do this calculation and you want to create a prompt that you can put into Claude or ChatGPT, and it's going to solve that problem for you just once. Another variation could be that you have to do this calculation every month, and therefore you don't just want a prompt to do it once. You actually want to have a prompt that has got a bit of understanding and context, and you can go back there every month and you can use AI to answer that question or to do that calculation for you. The next step up is, well, maybe actually this is a little bit more complex than just doing a simple calculation. Actually, I need to upload a few documents and there's a bit of process. And maybe it's not just me that needs to use it. Actually, it's other people. So here we're going to create a mini application or an executable file that's going to sit on my local machine. And just like I've got in my desktop or my dock here, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to do something to do this calculation. The next might be, well, instead of it being on a desktop and we've got to move this application around, actually I want to have something that I can access via a browser. Maybe we've got an intranet site and we want to be able to put this so that people can log in using their corporate credentials and they can use this application to do this calculation. The next step is, well, actually, it's not just for internal use. Actually, we want this calculator to be used by someone outside our organization. Maybe it's for our suppliers and they need to upload details of a new product that they're sending to us. Maybe it's for our customers and it's to help them to calculate their license requirements. So now we've got a public application that we might put on our website. And so that might be just, you don't need to log into it. You can just upload some information and it's going to give you a calculation. Or maybe you want to authenticate, and so people have to log into it, use their username and password. Maybe they log in with a Google login and they have some authentication. And then maybe the final part of this is, well, actually, we've already got a product that is out there in the market. And what I want to create is this calculation that we're now going to embed into that core application. So there's a lot of range here between, I just want a very simple prompt to chuck in ChatGPT or Claude, to actually I'm going to develop a product that we're going to release to our customers. And it's important to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve here, because that's going to dictate how far along this process that you go. Now, if you're just looking for one or two, so a prompt for one-time use or for ongoing use, you're going to be able to follow this guide and you're going to be able to get what you want. If it's starting to get into creating a mini application for either your own use or your internal team, you may, with a little bit of exploration and discovery and being able to knock your head against a wall a few times, you may get what you want. Or you might at least get to a proof of concept that you can click around and then you can show that to your development team or an external development agency. And if you're actually looking for something like 5, 6, or 7, where actually we're creating an application for external people, suppliers or customers to use, then very much, what we're aiming to do here is to get to a proof of concept that we can then share with our development team, and they're going to be able to build that. So that's the first thing, understanding what your goal is and bearing that in mind. Now, next step is about understanding the problem. And this is where so much of the value of what you're going to have come next comes from. If you go onto the instruction, the help guides for both OpenAI and Anthropic, the makers of ChatGPT and Claude, they both talk about passing the intern test. Now, what's the intern test? Well, you should be able to pass the requirement that you've got to a new intern, a human, that has got no knowledge of your company, no knowledge of your industry, no knowledge of the slang that you use and the acronyms, no knowledge of your processes or any of the other systems that they use, and they should be able to carry out your request. Well, how would you do that with a new intern? Well, you would have to break it down step by step in real detail, atomic detail, and explain, then do this, then do that, then you're going to click on that, then you're going to open up that file, then you're going to look in row 7. It's really, really down to the detail. So what do you need for this process? Google Docs or Word, somewhere where you're going to write stuff down, and then ChatGPT or Claude, maybe for helping you to engage the subject matter expert in this conversation. So you're going to go and find that person. So I used the example of maybe a calculation in a finance team. So go and speak to the person that does that process or owns that policy or that template today, and sit with them in person, ideally, whiteboard, flip chart, and get them to go through in this atomic detail of what they do. Then I do this, then I write that, then I go and look in this file, and get them to break down any of their slang. It's almost better if you don't understand what they're talking about, because then you'll ask the stupid questions. Sorry, what does GDPR mean? Sorry, what's the name of that file? And you'll really get all of that detail. If there is one step that they talk through where it seems like they've jumped across some things that you don't understand, deconstruct that and ask them to break it down into its individual parts. And then get them to talk through what are the outputs of that process. So now we create this spreadsheet, now we send it to someone, now we get these data points, whatever that might be. Get that point, that document, that Google Doc or Word document, to where you really, really understand exactly what is going on and you can describe it. And then, just as I said earlier, share your draft document with a junior member of the team, not the team that actually do this job, and just say, look, if I gave this to you, would you have a chance of being able to achieve it? So that is understanding the problem. Now you can move on to the next step, which is to solve the thing. And when I talk about the thing, I mean, what is the crux of this challenge? In our financial calculations example, the crux is doing that calculation. Can you follow the instructions in this written document and actually get the answer that you need? If we're thinking about the thing, maybe it's helpful to think about what is not the thing. What is not the thing is what this application is going to look like. What is not the thing is how people are going to log into it. What is not the thing is, are we going to charge for it? This is all stuff that comes later on. The thing is, can we solve the specific problem or process or task that we're trying to optimize here? So here you may need your Google Docs again to write out some explicit instructions. You will definitely need your ChatGPT or Claude. And what I advise here is to take the problem document that you've written in the previous stage, and now I introduce the analogy of crazy golf. Now, if you've played crazy golf, you're going to start over at the far end of this, and you're trying to get your ball in the hole here. Now, if you aim straight at the hole, you're going to fail because you're going to hit the obstacles. So how do you get there? You actually need to aim away from the hole and then bounce off at the side in order to get into to complete your task. And that's exactly what we want to do with your AI tool here. You've got the problem, but if you just ask ChatGPT or Claude, solve this problem for me, it will do its utmost to try and solve the problem for you. It will, it will try and get you to the pin, but it may not, and it doesn't provide you something repeatable that you can use again, whether that is a repeatable prompt or an application. So instead, I ask a slightly different question, which is, below, I've provided you with all the details of how our team manually solves this problem today. Without writing any code, I'd like you to suggest ways that we could solve this with technology. So potential solutions could be a prompt for one-time use, a prompt for ongoing repeated use, a mini application, and so on. Here are the details of the problem, and then copy in the problem description. So here, we're not asking for the answer, we're asking for how might we approach getting the answer. And this is where you'll start to think through, okay, right, I could build this mini application, or I could build a script, or I could build just a prompt. And even if you're not a developer, this is going to start to help you to think through what the next stage is. So now you've solved the thing and how you're going to approach this challenge. Next up is to create what is called a product requirements document, or a PRD. If you work in a product team or you've worked close to a product team, you will know that the PRD is kind of the unit of work. It's how we take customer requirements and we translate them into a document that we can then share with a engineering or design team to build this thing. And so now that we understand a bit about the problem and we understand a bit about the approach that we're going to take to solve the thing, now we can create this product requirements document. So here are a couple of tools we've already used, ChatGPT and Claude, and I'm going to introduce ChatPRD. Now, ChatPRD, fantastic tool built by Claire Vaux, who is a Chief Product and Technology Officer at LaunchDarkly. And it is purely there to help you to develop great PRDs. Now, you can sign up for, I think there's a free account and you get 3 free chats, or for something like $5 a month, you get an ongoing account. So not a huge expense, and you get the benefit of her templates. So within that, you're going to have a conversation and you're going to upload the documents that you've created already, both your understanding of the problem and how you're going to solve the thing. And through just having a conversation with ChatPRD, you're going to come out with a fantastically crafted product requirements document. If you don't have a ChatPRD license, or you're not able to get one, although, as I say, you can start for free, then a simple prompt, you can find many of these online, but similar, knowing what you know about the current problem, how we wish to solve it, help me to create a product requirements document. Your PRD should include, at a minimum, the goals of the product, the user stories, the functional requirements, the user experience, a narrative about an example of how someone might be using this, and some success metrics, technical considerations, and then the project plan. So have a conversation with your preferred AI model, uploading the documents that you've provided, and you're going to get a decent product requirements document. Right, next step, we're back in ChatGPT or Claude. And one thing that I should have mentioned probably right up at the start when we're understanding the problem is that both Claude and ChatGPT give you the ability to create a project. And a project is a wrapper around which you can have conversations about a similar topic. And it means that every time you go back to have a conversation, it understands what you're talking about. It understands that context. So I would definitely recommend that within Claude or ChatGPT, you've created a project at the start. And every time you've created one of these new documents, the problem definition, how you're going to solve the thing, your PRD, you add them into your project. And it means that you can ask quite simple questions afterwards. So going back into your project, we're now going to map out the user interface for our solution. So within your Claude or ChatGPT project, based on the PRD and the user stories and the features listed, create for me a list of all of the pages required for this product. And then you're either going to insert the PRD if you haven't got a project, or going to reference it if it's in your project knowledge. And what Claude or ChatGPT is going to do now is to build out page by page. Well, you're going to need a landing page, you're going to need a calculation page, you're going to need an export page, whatever it is. And a lot of that is going to be defined by your understanding of the problem, who's going to be using it, solving the thing, and the PRD that you've created. So yours may well be just one page, or it may be 5 pages, depending on what you have got here. Just a note here, whilst I'm using the word product and I talk about pages, if you've got a simple problem, we talked about what's our goal here, it may not be a product, it may be a prompt, it may be a simple one-page landing page that you're using. We don't have to create something overly complex here. So if you've got a simple problem, we can create a simple solution. All right, so next up, now that we've got a list of all of the pages, and we should take that document and upload that to the project of Claude or ChatGPT, now we're going to move on to starting to actually build these product pages. And this is where you're starting to, for most people, reach the edge of what you're comfortable doing. We're going to introduce a couple of new tools, and one of them is called Lovable. One of them is called V0. So that's not an O, it's a 0. And if you just Google these, Lovable or V0, you'll find them. Lovable is great for building working applications. V0 is great for building sort of clickable prototypes and user interfaces. So depending on what the thing is that you're trying to build, maybe test both of these and play around with them. And what you're going to do now is go into each of these tools. Again, you can set up, I think, a free account, but to make what you're creating private, you need to have a paid account. They're both $20 a month, something of that order. And once you've created your account, you've paid your $20, you've now got a private environment, you're then going to create a project in each of those. And for each of those projects, you're going to be able to provide some sources. Now, that may just be the text of your product requirements document. It might be your UI structure. It might be details about the problem that you have got. You're going to feed that knowledge into your tool. You might also provide it with some instructions. If you have knowledge of specific languages or frameworks, then you might provide those, but do not worry if you don't have that. But what you might have is details of your brand guidelines, your font, your color scheme, any style guidelines. And this is just going to mean that what you build looks good and familiar for when you're sharing it with other people. Now you're just going to have a conversation with the tool, whether that's Lovable or whether it is V0 or anything else. Using this PRD and this page structure, help me create a clean, modern, and responsive design. And then just get involved in the conversation. It is going to guide you through. You're going to be able to build all of the components that you want in your page. You're going to be able to change the way that things look. You're going to be able to move things around. And it is a really nice interactive experience. And this is where you move into the role of being an AI developer. Are you actually a developer that's writing code? No, the tool is doing that for you, but it's being able to bring your vision to life. Now, having done that for each of the pages, you should now have mostly a clickable prototype that you can see your idea coming to life, and you can run a session with that financial analyst or that HR manager that gave you the original problem. Is this something that you're thinking about? Does that get you to the thing? Having done that, now you might be getting into some of the more complex areas. And this might be if you're starting to think about an application that might be used by multiple people in your company, or definitely if you're talking about an application that might be used by people outside of your company. And you're starting to think about, okay, I need a database that is going to store all of the information that comes out of this calculation tool. You might be thinking, well, I need to authenticate people. We're going to have our suppliers come in. We need to authenticate them and be able to show them their results when they log back in another time. You might be thinking about, I've got to charge people something for this. I need to integrate with Stripe to be able to charge them. You may have some kind of physical element to this, and you need to render and spin around 3D images or any kind of context like that. You may need to integrate with other systems, either your own systems or other tools, and you may want to have some kind of AI chat interface, and you're integrating with OpenAI or Anthropic. This is where you probably at that point where you go, okay, I'm slightly out of my depth here. I'm not a developer, but I would challenge you on that. At the start of the guide, I say that you should always get to where you get stuck +1. So that means, right, okay, I'm now out of my depth, and I will now spend a bit of time going out of my depth and beyond. And I'm not worried if I can't solve the next bit, because it's in that +1, which is where learning happens. I'm going to learn a little bit about a database. I'm going to see how far I get by integrating with Stripe. And I'm very confident that because you're using these AI tools and you're asking the right questions, you're going to find that you get near that +1. And it means that the second time you do this and the third time you do this, your +1 moves further and further along until one day you're saying, well, hang on, I probably am a developer now. I'm just not writing the code myself. So these are the types of questions or prompts that I'm asking. I'm a newbie and I do not understand how to approach this task. Can you guide me step by step? I would like to, and then explain what it is that you want to happen. I'd like to integrate with Stripe. I would like to have some authentication. I would like to add a database. The second technique that I use when I get stuck is to get a second opinion. So maybe you're in Lovable or you're in V0 and things aren't quite working. Well, this is the time that I open up ChatGPT or Claude and I ask for a second opinion. I'm building an application in Lovable and I've got stuck. This is what I'm trying to do. And you copy in what it is that you want. This is the current situation. And there I might copy in some code or a screenshot. And then I'll just say, how would you suggest I approach it? And I have a very, very high success rate with that because you're just coming in from a different angle and say, well, have you tried this? And then the third technique, which has my even higher success rate if I'm stuck, is just to go for a run or go for a walk. I go away, I think about the problem from a different perspective, and then I come back and I go, I wonder if I just try this. And I pretty much always unlock the problem. So for this video, I'm going to stop at that point. I've got a little bit more detail around how you go and deploy these tools. But for most people that are following this along as a non-technical AI development process, just getting to this point, you are going to have enough to be able to go and speak to either senior leaders in your organization, to go and get feedback from customers or suppliers on whether this product solves their problem, or to go and speak to your own development team or an external agency and start to describe what it is that that you want to bring into the world. So I hope that was useful. I'm going to share this Google Doc in the notes to this video. And you can always contact me either on X at It's Charlie Cowan or add a comment to this YouTube video, and I'm happy to help out.